Senate Republicans will put off the most challenging parts of President Trump's legislative agenda until mid-September, leaving a sizable to-do list of promises made by President Trump largely unfulfilled. And it gives vulnerable House Republicans less to run on. Joining us, former Pennsylvania Congressman Charlie Dent, Sam Stein, Scott McFarland, back with us as well. So, Charlie, what could Republicans have used that they failed to address this session?
Well, they're really in a bit of a bind because they don't have a whole lot to run on. The one big beautiful bill is their signature piece of legislation, and so the only thing they can really talk about there are tax cut or no taxes on tips, no taxes on overtime. Okay, that's popular, but the bill itself was very unpopular. So they don't have a lot to talk about. They can talk about the border being secure, but they've lost their advantage on the immigration issue because of these excessive enforcement actions by ICE. So they really don't have a great agenda to run on. So now they're moving into September. And by the way, the only thing they're going to probably accomplish before September 30th is a bill to just continue resolution to fund the government until December 14th. I mean, they're not going to be able to do much else. So I think they know that the die has been cast largely for this midterm election, but there's not a whole lot they can do. The Save America Act, which the president is obsessed with, really doesn't move the needle either. They really couldn't even implement it if it were enacted in the law, but it's not particularly popular either. So they really don't have a lot they can really run on other than basically contrasting themselves to the Democratic Socialist movement. That's what they're going to probably end up doing. We're not them.
They didn't get the SAVE Act, Scott. They didn't get budget reconciliation. They don't have crypto legislation. What did they get done?
This U.S. House over the last few weeks, Katie, has been like that bad middle school class when the substitute teacher's in, and not even like the good substitute teacher, the one who can't keep things under control. Here are some small bore things they could have done. I have Missouri Republicans and upstate New York Democrats who told me they're okay with that gas tax holiday. There's actually bipartisan support for it. It's a controversial idea, but they could have come together to pause federal gas taxes, to lower gas prices. They never got around to it. There are, by my count as of this afternoon, 826 bills in the U.S. House and Senate on artificial intelligence. They didn't move on them, even though there's an urgency from the public, especially young people, to see government do something about this. There were things they could get together on, but they couldn't get together on anything through all the knuckleheadery.
Well, why not?
Well, some of this is a gridlocked floor in the U.S. House where things like releasing of the Epstein files, things like the SAVE Act, paralyze movement in the House on just about anything. The Senate, as it often does, backlogs its work into a very finite period of time. They did it again last week. Now they had to punt till September, things where there is a bipartisan coalition, including reforming college sports, which has a unique coalition of people. They ran out of space and time. I think election years starve you of oxygen and time in a unique way, too.
There's also the economy looms so large. Everybody's been going on summer vacation. I was off. Gas prices are nuts. Even if you're taking a driving vacation, if you're trying to fly somewhere, God forbid you miss a flight, trying to rebook is going to cost you thousands upon thousands of dollars. A girlfriend of mine had this problem and got stuck in Boston for a couple days. Sam, the economy is not good the way the president is selling it, people just don't believe it. They're not buying it. When you're looking at the Bureau of Labor statistics, running the numbers for food alone right now, if you wanted to have a barbecue in June, everything besides chicken was up. Everything besides chicken was up. And people feel that. They feel that. And this Congress, run by Republicans, has not addressed it.
You don't think he gets an A++, 150% score on the economy? No. Also, on the food prices, it's not just the prices of food. It's like every week there's another item that you can't eat because it's going to give you diarrhea, right? Like there's lettuce, jalapenos, bacon. It's not great to go out there and shop and wondering if you're going to make yourself sick by what you're buying. And I do think this, it does have effect on the psyche of the public, right? It's not just exhausting, which it can be, but it's pinching people in horrible places. There's been great reporting from people just at the gas station where they're talking about how hard it is to fill up your tank and how much, especially during the summer, that forces you into these uncomfortable situations and decisions that you have to make about what to purchase and how to get places and where to go. And then on top of that, you look at the job market and the latest data where, the numbers are not great. Obviously, we lost jobs. But beyond that, if you look under the hood a little bit, it was like we're approaching, a huge glut of people who are unemployed for 6 months or more. So it's just getting a job when you're unemployed. All this is contributing to these poll numbers that we see. And I do think there's some of that contributing to why Congress can't get stuff done, because they don't, they recognize they have to figure out some sort of solution. But I do wonder to the degree to which Trump saying everything's great and dandy prevents them from actually doing something that might address some of the real harm that folks are experiencing out there.
So what can they run on, Charlie?
So they're going to run against the Democrats. They're going to run against the Democrat Socialists of America. Look, this midterm referendum, this midterm is a referendum on the president of the United States, the economy, and his conduct in office. That's the main thing. So the Republicans' only chance is to try to turn this into a choice election, which is very, very difficult. And so the choice that they're going to make, I think, or they're going to basically lay it out that the Democratic Socialists like Mamdani and El Sayed and others are the Democratic Party, and saying that's the alternative and that they are worse than we are. I think that's a simple argument. I don't see a real policy argument here. I think we just discussed about, a gasoline tax holiday. I think it's a bad idea. Wouldn't affect the price at the pump. They can't do much. They have three problems going in this midterm: the Iran war, the economy, and the president's conduct in office. And they really can't do much about any of those things right now, at least before the election. So right now, it's all about the Democrats being worse than they are.
Does that work, Sam? It has worked in the past.
It hasn't worked in the past all that much, I guess. In some cases,
well,
I go
running
back
on
to 2018.
fear and running on xenophobia. Yeah, certainly.
Yes, and I referenced 2018 in the A block. If you remember that was about caravans, right? It was about caravans coming to the border, and we're going to be overrun by illegal immigrants. And it didn't work. That doesn't mean it can't work. Obviously, it's worked in certain occasions, especially during presidential years. But I think it works when you can paint with a broader scope as opposed to individualized races. And so I don't really foresee a situation in which like people voting in, let's say, I don't know, Colorado are like, you know what? I saw that ad with Zora Mamdani in it, and that really is like spooking me. Maybe that's the case. Maybe some people feel that way, but I just think the macro trends are a little bit too strong for something like that.